Imagine this for a moment. You're living 20,000 years ago. There are no police officers, no courts, no judges, no prisons. In fact, there aren't even any written laws. Yet you're part of a group of around 30 people who depend on each other every single day. You hunt together, share food together, raise children together, travel together, and survive together. But what happens when someone steals food? What happens when two hunters get into a fight? Or when somebody refuses to share after a successful hunt? Who decides who's right and who's wrong? And how do you stop a small argument from turning into a deadly feud? It sounds like a recipe for chaos. But surprisingly, for tens of thousands of years, our ancestors managed to make it work. And the way they did it reveals something fascinating about human nature. It's easy to imagine prehistoric humans living simple lives. But the reality was much more complicated. Early humans weren't that different from us. They experienced jealousy, anger, competition, friendships, rivalries, and disagreements. Whenever people live together, conflict eventually appears. Maybe one person felt they weren't getting their fair share of food. Maybe someone insulted another member of the group. Maybe two individuals competed for status or attention. The problems were different from modern society, but the emotions were the same. And because Stone Age groups were usually small, every conflict mattered. You couldn't simply avoid someone. You couldn't move to another neighborhood. You saw the same faces every day. If tensions grew, the entire group could suffer. So finding ways to keep peace wasn't just important. It was essential for survival. Today, laws help regulate the behavior of millions of strangers. But Stone Age humans didn't live among strangers. They lived among people they knew intimately. Everyone knew who worked hard, who shared food, who kept their promises, and who couldn't be trusted. In a small community, reputation followed you everywhere. If you consistently helped others, people remembered. If you lied, cheated, or acted selfishly, people remembered that too. There were no official records, no written reports. But there was something just as powerful: memory. People watched each other constantly. Not because they were suspicious, but because their lives depended on cooperation. And when everyone knows your history, your reputation becomes incredibly valuable. In many ways, reputation was the Stone Age equivalent of a criminal record. Now here's something interesting. One of the most powerful tools for maintaining order wasn't violence, it wasn't punishment, it was gossip. Today we often think of gossip as a bad thing, but from an evolutionary perspective, gossip may have helped build human civilization. Imagine a hunter who regularly refuses to share food. Nobody arrests him, nobody writes him a ticket. Instead, people start talking around campfires, during food preparation, while traveling. Stories spread. Others become more cautious around him. People may become less willing to cooperate with him. His social standing begins to decline. And suddenly, his selfish behavior has consequences. This is one reason humans are so interested in what other people think about them. For thousands of generations, social approval could literally affect your chances of survival. Life in the Stone Age was unpredictable. One day, a hunting party might return with enough food for everyone. The next day, they might return with nothing. That's why many early human societies developed strong traditions of sharing. At first glance, sharing seems purely generous, but it was also practical. Think about it. Today you have extra food. Tomorrow you might need help yourself. By sharing resources, people created a safety net for the entire group. And that reduced one of the biggest causes of conflict: inequality. If one person constantly hoarded resources while others went hungry, resentment would grow quickly. But when success was shared, cooperation became easier. In many ways, sharing wasn't just kindness. It was a survival strategy. You might assume every human group needed a chief or ruler, but many Stone Age communities were surprisingly egalitarian. They had leaders, but not in the modern sense. A skilled hunter might guide a hunt. An experienced elder might settle disagreements. A knowledgeable traveler might lead a migration. People listened because they respected these individuals, not because they feared punishment. And that's an important difference. Authority came from trust and experience, not from official power. If someone became arrogant or tried to dominate others, the group could simply stop listening. In some cases, people could even leave and join another group. This prevented any one person from gaining too much control. Leadership existed, but it remained limited by the community itself. So what happened when arguments became serious? Anthropologists studying traditional hunter-gatherer societies have found that many communities focus on restoring relationships rather than punishing offenders, and our Stone Age ancestors likely did something similar. Instead of asking, "How do we punish this person?" the question was often, "How do we keep the group together?" Elders might mediate disputes. Family members might step in to calm tensions. Sometimes humor was used to diffuse anger. Sometimes apologies repaired damaged relationships. Because at the end of the day, everyone still needed each other. The person you argued with yesterday might be the same person helping you hunt tomorrow. Maintaining unity often mattered more than winning an argument. And that's a lesson many modern societies still struggle to remember. Perhaps the most fascinating part of this story is that humans seem naturally wired to care about fairness. Even young children react strongly when they think something is unfair. Why? Many scientists believe this instinct evolved over thousands of generations. Groups that cooperated effectively were more likely to survive. Groups filled with constant cheating and conflict were less successful. Over time, natural selection may have favored people who could build trust, cooperate, and maintain social harmony. In other words, our sense of fairness didn't appear overnight. It may have been shaped by countless generations of Stone Age life. When we think about law and order, we usually think about governments, police, and courts. But for most of human history, none of those things existed. Instead, our ancestors relied on something far older: reputation, trust, sharing, cooperation, social pressure, and a deeply human desire to belong. These invisible forces helped small groups survive some of the harshest environments on Earth. And even though thousands of years have passed, those same instincts still influence our lives today. We still care about our reputation. We still value fairness. We still reward cooperation and punish selfishness. The tools may have changed, but the psychology remains remarkably familiar, because long before humans wrote laws on stone tablets, they carried those rules inside their minds. If you enjoyed this exploration into the hidden psychology of our ancient ancestors, subscribe for more journeys into prehistory, human evolution, and the fascinating stories that shaped who we are today. Because sometimes the most important chapters of human history were never written down.